You know, when you meet someone and you know instantly they are soul family, Sabrina Soto is without a doubt one of our soul sisters. You may know her from her shows on Hgtv and most recently her show Secret Celebrity Home Renovation on CBS, which is coming back this summer. She also shares daily guidance for all aspects of living on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It is her belief that any space you live in can and should be a representation of who you are, regardless of budget. We came together through our mutual friend, Brian Samuels, who had a knowing that we would all click, because not only is Sabrina queen of all things holistic living, wellness, and DIY, she is also deeply spiritual and a fellow seeker through and through. She is also on a mission to share and inspire everything that she learns to lead a more fulfilling life with others. And we know that this shared passion is what we're supposed to do together in the future. Sabrina's journey so far, as well as her how-tos and magnetic energy, may be just what you need to hear today to look at your mind, body, and spirit differently. So let's get talking.
Yeah.
Hi, Sabrina.
Hi, Sabrina.
I want to be friends with that person. She sounds great.
Isn't that, that's all true. I can attest to it now that we know you so well.
If my mom was here, she'd be like, who?
We're so glad you could find the time to be here with us.
Thank you for having me. I love you, ladies.
We love you too. And we want everyone to hear about your journey so far. We're always talking about there's something that leads us to this present moment, a whisper, a knowing. So what was that for you that has led you to where you are right now?
I can't pinpoint exactly why or when it started, but I was always into astrology and the huge astrology books we used to get at Barnes and Noble. My mom would take me, and she's very spiritual too. I mean, both my parents are from Cuba. Santeria is a huge thing in Cuba in Latin culture. And although my mom wasn't into Santeria, I read about it a lot, and we used to have a little bit of superstitious things around the house. So it was just always kind of ingrained in me. And then
I'm sorry to interrupt. What is Santa Maria?
Santeria is like a religion that's half voodoo, half Catholic. It's very much about saints, but it's going to sound crazy, but there are like saints like Ochun I know this is going to be weird.
By the way, none of this sounds crazy.
Oh, well,
I've never heard of it. It's fascinating. Like anything Catholic and voodoo in the same sentence.
It's a big African influence there. So my mom used to have this little coconut next to the front door that we used to give little tokens to, like candies and rum. So it was just little things here and there. And she would sometimes take me to a healer when I was a kid, and I loved it. I was not scared. I loved it. And as I evolved as a human being and read more, it's always been important to me to find an outlet of healing in different modalities. So whether it be astrology or meditation or yoga or even just going out in nature, it's always been sort of woven throughout my entire life.
You know what I think is so funny? So many people, when we start to talk about their past that are seekers, they always tell about that story about being in the library, in that aisle, looking at the books that nobody really wants them to look at.
Yes.
And it's all astrology and tarot.
Me too.
And all of those things, right? If there was that mysterious beckoning in the bookstore that always like got them on their way.
Well, right, because we grew up at a time where there was no internet. So that's all we could do.
I would go to like the self-help and astrology sections and like grab all the books and then go to another section to read them. So even though nobody cared, nobody was even paying attention, but in my mind, everybody was judging me.
And so how did you then know that you wanted to do something around home or food? How did that come into your world?
It was your mom, right? Wasn't your mom?
So my mom was very much a homemaker growing up, and she became a party planner and a stage decorator. But as a child, I was just always with her creating stuff. Never in a million years did I think I was going to do TV and design. So I would either do TV or I would do design. And then I found that Hgtv job 16 years ago on Craigslist.
Can you tell that story? I honestly
That's a meant to be moment.
cannot get
100%.
over that story. Please tell everybody.
So I was doing real estate. I had just gotten married. I knew in every bone in my body that I was not in the right place, but I was still making good money. I was happily married in a beautiful home. What the hell did I have to complain about? But I just knew, and I couldn't even vocalize it because then I'd sound crazy.
Well, and just so you know, the two of us have had those moments. So I'm so appreciative that you're talking talking about this, because I have a feeling there are many other people listening.
100%.
And you feel like you can't complain because.
Yes. And that's really, I think, the whisper of knowing kind of question that Robin was getting at, right? It may have like been started when you were young, just planting all these seeds, but it was at that moment when you were adult where you really could see where your feet were and knew that you weren't in the right spot.
It was actually, I can tell you, I remember I was at Baja Fresh at the lunch rush, getting a burrito with everybody else working in the office and all other offices in this area. And I was just like, what am I doing here? So a friend of mine who was really into Tony Robbins, I was always into like getting his tapes and CDs and listening to them, told me about The Secret. And this was before it was on Oprah, before you could pay $4.95 to watch it on the website. And she kept telling me about it. And finally, one night, my then husband was working late and I was home and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to watch that documentary. And something clicked as if it was reintroduced to me, this theory. Like I already knew it. Nobody had ever told it to me before, but this sounded really familiar. And I knew with every vein in my body that it was true. So he came home and as soon as he walked in the door, I was like, I'm going to be on TV doing something amazing. And he was like, have you been drinking? Yeah. And I'm going to be on TV.
Watching The Secret, by the way.
And I don't know what happened, but we went to sleep that night and I just knew it. I knew it. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have any connections. I had nothing going. I was living in the suburbs and that night we fell asleep. I thought somebody rang the doorbell and I woke him up and I was like, somebody's at the door, which didn't make sense. So I go to get the door and I'm one of those people, like if I'm up, I can't go back to bed. So it was 4:00 in the morning. I could not go back to bed. So I was like, I'm just going to go in the office and look on Craigslist. And I went to the TV media category and there was an ad basically looking for a designer who had TV experience. So I had TV experience. I had somewhat design experience. So I'm like, I'll send it. It didn't say it was Hgtv.
Wow.
And so when I started that journey, I just started working out. I started eating differently and like training for this TV job that I didn't have. And he was like, why are you going crazy? I'm like, I'm getting myself TV ready. And he's like, okay, crazy. And, but I knew it. So I might as well get myself ready for when I'm going to be on TV. And lo and behold, 16 weeks to when I sent that Craigslist ad, I was on set filming my first Hgtv show.
Wow. And did you just pinch yourself?
That's fast too.
It was fast. And that was, when I say 16 weeks, that's when I actually got the job in filming. Before that, there was auditions, this and that. That was all also like weird things that happened during the interview time. Like I could write a whole book just about that. But just telling you this, I'm sure people think, oh, well, you're on Hgtv, you're in LA, you probably know everybody in Hollywood, or you had an agent, or you had contacts. None of that is true. I knew no one, didn't have it at all. It just all sort of came because what happened inside of me. When I switched the knowing that it was coming, everything in my life switched.
If somebody was listening right now and said, how do you really know that knowing and trust that that is real? What would you say?
I think it's a practice. And I think that sometimes your soul just knows, but a little tip I can give people who are listening that they don't know where to start is take 3 minutes of your day. 3 minutes is nothing. I'm not asking for much here. Close your eyes, get somewhere quiet, and whatever it is you want, whether it's something, a material or a job or a husband or a wife, whatever, close your eyes and really feel as if it's true. Like you actually are in that marriage, in that job, in the whatever, and feel it. What is it? What's around you? What are the smells? What are you wearing? How do you feel like? And try to feel that, how happy you are for a few minutes. I'll even take 20 seconds if that's all you could muster. And doing that little by little, there's something that happens in the universe when you feel that happiness that starts attracting it like a magnet towards you.
Oh, I love that. And it is easy to do. Something you could even just do while you're driving to work in the morning or brushing your teeth even.
Here's another thing. You can't think that it's so out of reach. So if you're making minimum wage and you want $1 million, it's not that $1 million can't come to you. It can, but you have to believe that you're capable of attracting that. And that's the key, your belief system.
That's right.
That you're worthy. That is what I actually think is what has held me back all of my life, is being worthy of having the person, the thing, the job, whatever. When I changed my mindset about that is when my whole entire life changed.
I think that's huge. And that comes up in a lot of conversations that I have with people is the worthiness. And one thing that I tell them to do, on energymuse.com, they have an I am worthy bracelet. And so it's made up of certain stones and crystals that are supposed to help you feel the worthiness. And they come with mantras to say every morning you put them I'm on. And I think just the reminder to look down and say to yourself, I am worthy is important. And I think that can lead to what you're talking about, which then leads to those dreams coming true.
Absolutely.
And that knowing coming true.
It's also deprogramming yourself. I was just having this conversation with Dean the other day because I mentioned both of my parents are from Cuba. The Latin culture, especially for women, is that we come last. First comes the family, then comes the husband, then comes the house, then comes whatever, then comes us. And it's really a deprogramming of the worthiness of, no, I'm actually worthy of taking the time for myself and just putting a pause on having to make everybody else perfect. And it is ingrained in our culture. And it's something that is my passion to change that mindset.
Oh, I love it. And you're right. I think that probably, as you said, it's ingrained in that culture, and it's really ingrained in in overall culture, right? Like women in general.
Caretakers.
Yeah. And so
the last person we caretake is ourselves.
That's right. I'm glad that you are speaking to it. And it's one of your missions is helping others to recognize and take those moments, whether it's 3 minutes, hopefully that leads to 5 minutes or more. For themselves every day.
But it's so hard. It is difficult because from the moment I wake up, Olivia's got to get up. I got to make her snacks, lunch, get her dressed, brush her teeth, blah, 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 get her to school. And for somebody who is so into meditation, I've seen my own practice go to the wayside because of my schedule. So it's taking the time, but even just the other day, I was driving home and the kids were home and so was Dean. And it was time to like get inside the house to be the mom and do the dishes and do the dinner. And I sat in the driveway in the car and I meditated for a few minutes.
Other people need to give themselves permission to do that. I think they may think about it and they don't do it. So I love that you're saying that you did it because you know what it means when you walk in that door. You won't necessarily get that time back.
Crazy.
People need to give themselves that permission to sit in their car for an extra 5 minutes, or don't even like pull all the way up to your house, like stay down the street.
Yeah, wherever, go in a parking lot. I don't care, but find the time by yourself before you get into the chaos of life because it's chaotic.
My mom always used to say you should send your energy ahead of where you're going. So just send positive light up the environment that you're walking into before you get there. And I always find, even if it's before a meeting or something that you don't want to face, if you send that positive energy there, it changes the energy of the experience.
Yeah. And so when it comes to that worthiness for you, how do you feel you have come into the knowing of that for you?
I hate to say this because then people who are younger are going to be like, what? But for me, it's been age. The older I get and the more time I have just underneath my belt, I realize where I've sold myself short many times. As everybody's got their category where they've effed up. For me, it's always been romantic relationships. Everything could be good at work. My house looks great. I look good, but then I'm miserable in this space. So I think now as I get older and I work on myself more and I do feel worthy, I accept no less than what I deserve.
I love that. And I will say, for those who don't know you or haven't seen you on television or listen to your podcast, you radiate such confidence and positivity. You do. And you would never know that you didn't have that before.
Oh my God, no.
That's what everyone needs to understand, that it's been a journey for you.
Yes.
You know?
It still is a journey.
Yes.
Continues. And it's this never ending search.
And amongst the three of us, we always talk about it. It will be an ongoing journey. We always have more to learn. We always have more to grow.
And things come out of the blue that even the most spiritual down home seeker that are really grounded, you're not going to be able to manage right away. We keep saying you have to use the tools. You have to take a step back.
That's right.
I think it's not all perfection all the time for any of us. Can we talk a little bit about what home means to you and maybe even pre and post pandemic? Obviously, nobody can see you now, but every aspect of your home is just so beautiful and thought through and colorful.
Home is so important to me for a really big reason. Growing up, we were very financially comfortable. And we went from being financially comfortable, where I was actually teased in school. People would call me a rich bitch, which by the way, I was not, to so poor that I would have to break into my neighbors' homes to get food.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And yeah, it was bad. And my mom would wake up early to turn on the oven because it was the only heat we had in the house. And we would all like sort of stand around this open oven to eat cereal. It went from great to horrible. And no one in my school knew how poor we were ever, even though people would come over all the time, because my mom always taught me no matter how much or how little we have in our bank account, you could still have a beautiful, well-kept home. And it really is true. Even if you only have have a chair and a table. Your house can be clean and you can make little touches to make it personalized. So growing up and seeing that and seeing it exercised in real time has been such a passion for me to share that with other people. So I don't think anyone who does know me would ever say I'm a frou-frou designer. I am not. Every show that I've ever had on Hgtv has been surrounded about budget design. I'm not interested in frou-frou design. I think anybody could buy a $10,000 couch and make it look good. It's about buying the $500 couch, finding the right toss pillows and the right throw, and making it a beautiful ensemble.
Yeah, I agree. I used to love going to the secondhand stores just for that reason, because I had no money, and look at things with a totally different eye and coordinate them to make your home feel special and feel like a reflection of who you are.
And it should be, you spend all of your, especially now in this pandemic, the place where you spend most of your time, it's become your home, your office, your nursery, your gym, your restaurant. And you should be proud of your home. When my friends say they don't want to invite me over because they're embarrassed, you can say nothing worse to me, because there is no reason to ever feel that way. Yeah. You should really be proud of that category of your life.
And, Oprah says you want your home to rise up and meet you when you walk through the door. And I've always loved that. And that to me is what you're saying. It should greet you when you walk through that door, giving you that hug. What would you say is one thing that somebody could do today if they're not feeling that way? What's one way to start assessing how to make it more of that other family member?
I would say 8 out of 10 people who are listening to this podcast have too much stuff. And clutter, it really, I know this is going to sound woo-woo, so brace yourselves, but it is the things that you're keeping around that you no longer need, that are no longer serving you, that are weighing your energy down. So that sweater that you haven't worn in 4 years that is completely dusty, the Valentine's Day card your crappy ex gave you 15 years ago, get rid of it. You will be surprised. I'll confess. My nightstand, I don't know why I hardly ever really use it. And I went through it to organize it because now I have this night routine. I was like, I want to make it pretty. And I have old love letters from exes in my nightstand right next to where I sleep, next to me.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, what?
It's such an easy thing to do. Hold on to their stuff, right?
Well, and it's energy.
It's energy.
It is energy. And so your point being that you have love letters from someone else while you're sleeping next to your fiance, which obviously you're not consciously thinking of, but just removing that, it's going to make the relationship lighter. It's going to make your home lighter. And as you said, Karen, that's such a simple thing to do.
It is funny how we cling to things, isn't it?
Think about the things that you don't even know are there, like those love. I didn't know. It's still taking up energy. And by the way, what a laugh I had reading those. What a crock of shit that was.
Well, there is even to that extent, like there's even, I always think about the unseen stuff, like the things in the basement that are under your house that are like taking up all that space, or your attic, or stuffed in your drawers. All of that stuff is adding to that, almost blocking your energy in a way.
And guess how much it costs? Nothing. Zero. As a matter of fact, you probably can make money if you have valuable things that you want to sell.
It's so true. And you know what? You'll never miss it.
My girlfriend was wearing a blazer I gave her the other day and it looked so good on her. I was going to ask for it back, but I didn't. I did not. That was the only time I regretted giving something away.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, can we shift a little bit to talk about your definition of what holistic wellness is? How do you integrate that into your life?
For me, it's mind, body, soul. So I take care of this meat suit and the things that I put in my body. So that's number one, like the food that I consume, the things that I drink. I want to make sure that it's serving me. And I've made a lot of mistakes in that alone that I realized that have really kept me small. I try to meditate every day. I try to use being mindful in my daily life, being present, because I am a Cuban Capricorn who completely future casts everything in my life too much. And being a creative actually and sometimes can get crazy because then I create all these crazy stories of what's going to happen. None of them are true. So just staying present, being like, here I am, and I do it with my daughter. And I also read constantly. And it's the things that I ingest also in my body, but with my mind. So the person who used to get, when I lived in New York, the New York Post every day and read all of that and loved the page 6 moment in the morning with my coffee, I no longer participate in that because I realized it was dulling my energy.
Right. It's like making those choices. And I feel like as we've been talking in this conversation, some of this comes with age too. It's like when you know better, you do better. And so what served you then does not serve you now.
Right.
And when did you start to become conscious conscious of that for yourself?
It's been the last 30 years of really me doing this. And I go through different stages of what I'm learning about. But I guess what causes most people to look for healing modalities is pain.
Yeah.
Pain. I deal with anxiety a lot, again, because of my future casting and just my life of being a single mom and being on TV. It's fun as hell, but it also comes with the weird DMs and criticisms. And of course, I could read 1,000 amazing comments, and then one person will be like, your teeth are too white. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh God, you're right.
I get it. But I love what you said about the ingesting and thinking about, does this serve me? Is that about me?
Or who I surround myself with. I had a friend who I had a very uncomfortable conversation with the other day. I was super uncomfortable, and I'm the one who initiated the call to tell them basically that I don't think our friendship is really serving me anymore. And to break up with a friend is weird.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, it is so different than breaking up with a boyfriend. He even said, like, I've never gotten a phone call like this before, but I'm really sort of proud of you because I felt it too. And there was no hatred or anger. It was just like, we're not there anymore. And I wish you well, but we don't have to talk all the time. And that's okay. So anyway, it's who you surround yourself. It's what you ingest. It's what you're watching. It's what you're listening to, all of it.
Yeah. And being a mom too, right? You have a little set of eyeballs looking at you every day, looking for how is mom feeling. So that shifts your energy too, doesn't it?
It really does. And I don't know if you guys know who Angie Green is, but she is an ex-model and she's really into holistic living. And she was apologizing to her followers about not posting as much because she was really enjoying time with her family. And it made me think, like, putting my phone down and being more present for Olivia, because she is young only once and she is watching me. And so being the best version of myself is so important to me, to the point that I used to tell her all the time, you make me a better person. And I thought that I was saying the right thing. I didn't realize to a 4-year-old. She was like, why are you a bad person? But she told her nanny, she was like, I think mommy might be a bad person. She keeps saying I make her a better person.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh, no.
But she does, because I do want to be better for her.
Yes. So
there is a lot of pressure I was a single mom too. There is a lot of pressure there because you can't always spend the amount of time you want to with them. You are the breadwinner as well as the mother. You are really their everything. So it's a big role to play. But I always felt with my daughter that our relationship was so much closer in that sense because I could be really authentically myself. Yeah. It wasn't really a partnership deal that she was getting. She was really getting fully me. Our relationship, I think, has always been different because of that.
And I do show her emotion too, where, like, me growing up, we were not really a big open, let's talk about our feelings sort of household. So a few weeks ago, I was having a really bad day and I was crying and she walked in, and for a split second, I was going to pretend I wasn't, and I didn't. And she was like, are you crying? I was like, yeah, I'm really having a bad day. And she was like, oh, it's okay. And then I was aware of, I want to show her that it's okay.
That's real. Right. I think many of us do somewhat protect our children from the other side of things. We do our best to not cry in front of them and so forth. But if we never do, then they think something's wrong with it. And
that's right.
So that's so good to normalize that too. And she's old enough.
But she is not 6. That girl is like 26 years old. I always ask her for a birth certificate. I'm like, girl, no.
I love that. Well, let's talk about holistic living. Robin and I are so obsessed with. So how about another Sabrina tip? What's something that you go to in terms of your overall wellness routine?
I'm sure people listening like, oh, she's a designer in her house. This house is not that big. And I don't really have a space that I could go to unwind. So I really created a corner of my bedroom that is my crystal, a pillow on the floor, and some sage and these oracle cards. And it is just a pillow on the floor. And that is my safe space. And that is where I go to just unwind. And even if just for a few minutes. So I highly encourage to find a space, and it could be your car. It could be your car. In my car, I have aromatherapy oils in my glove compartment. And even if it's just a little aromatherapy deck or whatever speaks to you, make one space a place where you could go to have that moment to yourself.
Oh, that's so good.
It is. I mean, everybody can do that. You can find that corner. Put an inspiring quote. I have quotes all over my work area for me to remember. I love that idea of, if it's in your car, having the aromatherapy.
I'm a very visual person, so I need the quotes to be out. So There's one quote that I love that's like, when you're on the right path, the universe will conspire to help you. And I need to be reminded about that, because for me, I always like, nope, that network doesn't want this. Nope, they don't want it. They already said no. It's like, no, stop with the how. That's another thing I could tell listeners. Don't worry about the how. That is not your business. That's the universe's business. Worry about being in the space where you are prepared, and just keep thinking the thoughts of getting it. The how will come to you, because whatever you think is the solution might be much smaller than what the universe had in mind.
Exactly. And it's so interesting to me because hearing you, because you've seen it happen in your own life.
Every effing day.
But Sabrina, you didn't just get this from Tony Robbins. You've obviously been a seeker student for a long, long time. I hear so many quotes that are coming from a lot of different places.
I love Wayne Dyer. I love Mike Dooley. Gabby Bernstein's books, The Universe Has Your Back, is really great. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Esther Hicks.
Yes. This is why we're soul family.
I was introduced to Esther Hicks 15 years ago. I was like, what? That's crazy.
You know, it's so funny. My son just yesterday, he goes, Mom, this is a cassette. You used to have these in your car, and you used to listen to that weird person. And it was the Abraham Hicks tapes. And I was like that subscriber. So I made my kids listen to him too. So I'm right there.
God, Olivia listens to him in the car. She was like, do we have to listen to the talking again? I was like, all right.
Yes.
I'm really into reading now Ho'oponopono, that philosophy. I'm dealing with some situation now that's not as easy as I would think it should be. And so before I get into that situation of the meeting or the work, I'll say the Ho'oponopono prayer to the people that are difficult, in order to, like what your mom said, sending the energy there before I walk in. And it really weirdly, so woo-woo magic has been working.
It's like the freezing negativity. I don't know if you ended up doing it, but we talk about...
Yes.
Right? If you take a situation or person and you say this little prayer, basically, and you put it in the freezer, it's amazing what can happen. It just somehow goes away.
Well, your intention changes.
Energy shifting, right?
Yeah.
And so you're sending, in your case, the energy into the future. We're so blinded by what we think time is. I use the word blinded by time because it's what feels real to us.
Right.
But energy can travel through anything.
Anything. Again, that sounds so woo, but think about the study they did with water. They wrote love on the water and then hate. And even if you don't believe in it, you don't have to. That's scientifically in a micro.
I agree.
Yeah.
And honestly, we had someone on a few weeks ago, Hope, who talked about talking to your water and saying, I love you to your water. She likes to say it out loud, or you can say it in your mind. I've been doing it, and I have to tell you, I feel different, because I'm like, I thought about that experiment you just talked about. That triggered it for me, because I'm like, of course. I mean, water, it keeps us alive.
A little experiment that I want people to do who are listening. If you have like a flowering plant, bush, whatever, take 2 flowers from the same bush or plant or tree, whatever. Put them in water and literally put them in different rooms with the same sunlight, and speak poorly to one and speak nicely to the other, and you'll see which one wilts the fastest. It is an exercise to do with something that you could see, because what it'll tell you is when you talk to yourself, and that self-talk, what you're really doing to yourself.
Oh, so good. Thank you.
And it's such a fun experiment. Like, why not?
Why not?
And do it with the kids too, to show them. I tell Olivia, she's 6, so she does this like, I'm stupid. And it's like, no, I tell her now, I'm like, your best friend is you. And you need to always talk to yourself kindly. Whatever you're saying out loud, you're probably saying something worse inside, and it's not okay, because you would never talk to your real best friend at school like that.
Well, and speaking of that, as we're reflecting on your journey so far, what is something that you wish that little Sabrina knew when she was growing up?
I just told this to Olivia the other day. We all have spirit guides, and their sole purpose is to help create the life that you're meant to live and what your real purpose and destiny is. And we don't talk to them or communicate enough. And I'm not talking about like, hey, spirit guide, how are you doing today? Coffee? It's in the meditation. It's where that conversation happens, which is what we don't ever do because we're too busy. So I told her, you have little angels up there that are literally just waiting to talk to you. And you don't have to talk to them, but just sometimes ask them for things that you want. And if it's a bike, like close your eyes and tell them like, I want this bike. And what's the color of the bike? like and get as descriptive as you can. And so I picked her up from school yesterday and she said, Mom, I've been talking to my angels and they still haven't given me what I wanted. And I was like, well, what are you asking for? And she said, I wanted to be the PE superstar. So then I had to teach her too, that just because you haven't gotten it yet doesn't mean it's not coming. And sometimes the angels have to wait until it's the right time and that you actually are prepared to be the PE superstar. So because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not happening. And that I always have to remind myself too of just, it's all in due time. And my timeline is not always the perfect timeline. So I wish that my parents would have taught me more about the law of attraction as a child, because I think, there are no regrets in my life, but I think I would have had a lot less pain.
Yeah. And a lot more hope.
A lot more hope.
It does sound like your mom was the one though, that did teach you to like, look for the inspiration and look for the magic in the home and how to nurture that. How smart of you to teach your daughter at this stage, especially when she can still believe in, and maybe even see angels, spirit guides.
Yeah.
It's kind of taught out of kids to not look for that, even when they see it.
That's real magic. Forget about the tooth fairy.
I know. It's right. That's right. That is right. You're so and that's what we need to normalize, honestly.
Yes.
That conversation needs to be normalized.
One last question. Spiritual practice. You were talking before about your bedtime ritual. What is that? What do you do?
I have a few rituals. And they're not silly, but they're not like groundbreaking, but I have this special oil that I use to clean my face, and it is my time. And I feel like I'm taking care of myself when I'm doing it. So when I'm actually cleaning my face, I feel like I'm taking care of my soul. And I also, every morning, I light incense. I play meditation music in the morning with Olivia, and we have a nice quiet ease into the morning. And at night, after I put her to bed, I take the time again to clean my face. I'll light a little bit of sage and I will read in bed. I don't watch the crap I used to watch. My ritual at night has changed so much. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, my ritual at night was open up a bottle of wine, Real Housewives of New Jersey, Teresa, what are you flipping today? And like gossiping on the phone with my friends.
I mean, that's amazing. And now you're getting in bed after you lit some sage and you're reading a book.
I love it. Wayne Dyer used to say, be really careful what you do right before you go to bed, because that's what you're going to be stewing in all night long. And I believe that's true. That's 8 hours of where you're setting your intention before you go off to sleep. So that's so beautiful.
So whatever you do, do not watch the news before you go to bed.
Well, and I know people are going to ask, what is it that you're using on your face? Because I think people want to know.
It is a secret, but I'm going to tell you a secret because you're going to buy it. It's called the Greek Remedy Oil from Amazon. It is insane. It's organic. It's a mixture of lavender. It is so good. It's like lavender, jojoba, all of these different oils. But my also go-to favorite is a company out of Canada called Living Libations, best skin ever rose oil. It's decadent and amazing. But when I can't get that, because it's from Canada and they ship, I get that one from Amazon, but both of them.
Thank you. Because I think people are going to go get it.
Yeah.
Including me.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Fantastic.
Well, and lavender, that's such a soothing smell. So that makes sense too. It's
oh my gosh, so jam-packed full of goodness.
I know. I mean, I feel we covered a lot.
And I can still talk for hours.
Same. I mean, we never have enough time with you, Sabrina.
Well, we'll do a part 2 soon.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Thank you so much for taking the time, for being so authentic and vulnerable and sharing both tips, but also many parts of your life. I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And season 2 of Secret Celebrity Renovation comes back July 16th on CBS. You can stream the first season on Paramount Plus. You can subscribe to Sabrina's podcast, which we didn't talk about, but everybody should check out, called Redesigning Life, wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can also check in with Sabrina daily at Sabrina_Soto on Instagram or Sabrina Soto on Facebook. And you can also catch her now on TikTok at Sabrina Soto Official. Thank you so much.
Everywhere.
Yay.